believe I read yesterday that the wind chill for last night's game was the second lowest in Mets history. Hyundai starting lineup for the Marlins, and Otto Lopez and Derek Hill, who arguably been two of the better offensive players for Miami early this season, both out of the lineup today. Jonah Bride gets a start at first base, and Javier Sanoja, who played shortstop last night, will play second base. There's Xavier Edwards, who is the best average hitter in this Marlins lineup.
And there's the Toyota numbers for Tyler, excuse me. And the walks are a bit of an issue, but he has really pitched well, only given up one run. And you see his whip, and his whip is outstanding. So he's off to a red hot start.
That's the defense, Keith. That's all for you.
Okay, the Genesis defense. Singer gets another start the entire series. Beatty at second base. Out in the outfield, it looks like Tyrone Taylor's gonna. He didn't start any of the games against Toronto, and he's got all three in this series. That was a mistake. Tyler does not have 10 walks. He only has 4 walks on the season. That's what threw me off, Gary. That's why I was tardy coming into the defense.
His first pitch is too high for ball 1, and we're underway. Xavier Edwards 3 for 7 in this series after hitting .328 last year. Off to another good start for Miami. Corners pinch in against his speed, and McGill misses up and away with the fastball, and it's 2-0. Edwards, then Kyle Stowers and Jonah Bride for the Marlins, who got off to a nice start, had 3 walk-off wins in their first series of the year against the Pirates, but now have fallen under 500 for the first time at 5-6. And McGill quickly behind on Edwards, 3-0.
We talked about Juan Soto hitting up in front of the box. Well, look at Mr. Edwards, another guy that hits in front of the plate. Look at that back foot, almost a foot in front of that back line.
And McGill walks him on 4 pitches, and that's not the way McGill wanted to start his afternoon. Tyler going without long sleeves on a 43-degree day, and he throws 4 straight out of the strike zone to Edwards, who's always a stolen base threat. The winds are not as prominent as they were last night.
Oh, look at this guy.
He's a tough guy. Shorts,
maybe
t-shirt.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe he hasn't got enough loot to get some clothing.
Kyle Stowers takes a slider down and in, and that's 5 straight out of the strike zone for McGill. I think we should go offer him a blanket or something.
Really? That's above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Edwards has a stolen base in this series, 3 for the year, not a big lead. McGill's got a good pickoff move, and he shows it there. Nobody's tried to steal against McGill yet this season. He only gave up 5 steals in 7 tries last year. He's got 5 pickoffs in his career. Kyle Stowers 1 for 6 in this series, and that's 6 straight balls thrown by McGill. So Talor having a difficulty locating the strike zone in the early going.
Up and away with the fastball, 2 straight left-hand hitters. There you have it.
See if Stowers ready to pounce here on 2-0. And he takes one up and away, and McGill still looking for his first strike. 7 pitches, 7 balls. Jonah Bride, the number 3 hitter on deck. And, those are not the lucky 7s that you're looking for.
Well, you need the 3rd one.
Well, at least.
Oh boy.
And there's ball 8. So 8 straight out of the strike zone will draw McGill a visit from Jeremy Hefner, and a ragged beginning to this game for Tyler McGill.
Well, maybe the right-hand batter here will help him out, because if he keeps on throwing up and in the way, he's going to hit the right-hander. He's got to make the necessary adjustment, and that's what Jeremy's out there.
Last night, Clay Holmes had difficulties in the first inning, walked a couple of hitters back to back, wound up giving up 2 runs in that first inning, and then he settled in very nicely, wound up striking out 10 over 5 1/3. Like Holmes, who grew up in Alabama, McGill did not grow up pitching in cold weather. He's from California. So here's Jonah Bride, who's had an awful start to his season, just 2 for 28, 0 for 2 in this series. And there finally is a strike from McGill. Gets a first pitch slider over, and the sarcastic roar from the crowd. A nice gathering for a midweek day game on a cold day in April.
That's a get me over breaking ball just to get that first strike. Break the ice.
And Bride takes another slider. That one misses inside, a ball and a strike. Beatty shaded toward the bag at second as Edwards takes just a short lead. And there's a fastball for a strike. So the first fastball McGill has been able to throw over the plate. And it gets ahead on Bride 1-2.
Bride certainly likes to take a lot of pitches. Boy, oh boy.
Bride at 071. That'll break up some marriages. Here's the 1-2 coming. And slider out of the strike zone. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Got to get your average up, dear.
Take out the garbage.
Matt Mervis, the DH, is on deck. Left-hand hitter. Bride waits on a 2-2 pitch. And the curveball struck him out. So McGill dialed back through the slow breaking ball, and he gets his first out of the day with a strikeout of Bride.
One after a bad one. Took 2 strikes and swings at a bad one. That's how it's gone for Bride in this series.
So 1 out, 2 aboard. Here's Matt Mervis, who homered against McGill as a Cub last year. And he takes the first pitch curveball down for ball 1. Mervis 1 for 4 in this series. Serving as the DH today after playing first base in yesterday's game.
Low ball hitter.
Edwards at second, Stowers at first with 1 down. And Mervis takes a fastball away, and it's 2-0.
He's still having issues against the left-hander, Gary, with that fastball missing outside.
Adrian Johnson, the crew chief, calling the balls and strikes today. Quinn Walcott, Paul Clemens, and Brian Walsh rounding out the crew.
And Johnson was overturned twice in yesterday's ball game at first base.
And a fastball in for a strike. Well, you can't get overturned calling balls and strikes, not in the regular season. Maybe next year. I think that ABS system is coming. Everybody seemed very happy with it in spring training this year. And Mervis goes after a sinker and comes up empty, and it's 2-2.
Came inside, Gare. That was a 4-seamer. And that, I think he's going to the other side of the plate. He's trying to pitch on the outside corner. He's been missing by a foot. Let's call inside and get him to get that arm through.
2-2 on the inside corner. Got him looking. So he came right back inside with that 4-seamer. And McGill, after 2 straight walks, has back-to-back strikeouts, 2 down.
Marlins got to warm up here. I know they're a warm water club here, but
warm water fish. Is that what you were going to say?
Not up here in the east.
That's act more like the salmon and the halibut. Here's Dane Myers, and he takes a strike.
I know the tuna like the cold water.
Like an Atlantic cod. Myers 1 for 4 in this series, getting the start in center field today over Derek Hill, who hit a home run and made an almost unbelievable catch last night. Outside to Myers, a ball and a strike. I mean, Hill had been working with some back issues. I don't know if those cropped up today and kept him out of the lineup, but boy, if anybody ever earned a start the next day, would have been Derek Hill's performance last night. 1-1 to Myers, and he checks the swing. He went around on the sinker. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
It looks like Taylor has righted the ship.
Rhythmic applause keeps you warm. 1-2 coming. On the ground, Lindor on the backhand, throw to second, no, throw to first, and he gets him. No, he's safe.
Oh boy,
wow,
that's close.
I thought he was going to throw to second. I think he had a play there on Stowers, but he elected to make the longer throw, and Myers, with good speed, able to beat it out.
I thought he was going to go for the lead out as well, Gare. Let's see.
No, he's safe.
He beat it.
So it's an infield hit for Myers to load up the bases.
Nice stretch by Petey. I hope he doesn't mind me calling him Petey.
Why don't you ask? Here's Griffin Conine. It's a good series, 2 hits and 6 at bats. Also drew a couple of walks last night. And Conine with a first inning opportunity. The Marlins, although they're 13th in the league in runs scored, when they've had the bases loaded in the early season, they are 5 for 11 as a team. McGill trying to work out a first inning trouble and fires a fastball in for a strike and gets ahead on Conine 0-2.
Boy, a lot of takes here in the top of the first by the Marlins on heaters.
Edwards, Stowers, and Myers the base runners. 0-2 coming to Conine. And that slider just missed low. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I'm wondering, you remember his father, Jeff's stance, Gare? Did Jeff hold his hands as high as his son does?
No, and he was a right-hand batter, of course, so different in that respect. Sanger able to keep that one in front of him. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Sanger, and since he's been in there, we got a chance to watch him behind the plate. He is really a quality defender. Really excellent at blocking the balls in the dirt.
Luis Torrens feeling better today after his MRI came back clean on his bruised forearm. 2-2. Foul back. The thought is that Torrens is available off the bench if needed today, and with the day off tomorrow, should be ready to go by Friday in Sacramento.
And Torrens has been very effective early in this season coming off the bench.
Francisco Alvarez is going to start a rehab assignment tonight for Port St. Lucie. 28th pitch of the inning, and he struck him out. McGill comes up and in with the fastball. He strikes out 3 in the inning and gets out of a bases loaded jam. Mets come to bat with no score. As last night, except Beatty's hitting in front of Taylor instead of the other way around, and Marte's hitting instead of Vientos instead of the other way around. But the same 9 out there after the Mets had a season high 13 hits last night.
And there's your starter, Max Meyer. We talked coming off of the Tommy John in 23. It missed all of 23 after the surgery. So far, decent ERA. Throw strikes.
Went 6 innings against the Braves his last time out, allowed 3 runs, 8 hits in a 10-0 loss. Francisco Lindor has led off each of the last 5 games with base hits for the Mets. And he takes the first fastball from Meyer up and away for ball 1. Before the Tommy John surgery, Meyer was throwing 98 to 100. He's not as hard a thrower now, but he's got a great slider that's always been his best pitch. And he misses upstairs with a fastball, and it's 2-0. Lindor's got a 7-game hitting streak going. So after a rocky first few days, he has found the range a lot earlier than last year. And Meyer gets his first strike, 2-1. Juan Soto and Pete Alonso to follow. Club record for most consecutive games leading off with a hit is 7. Jose Reyes did that twice. The major league record is 10. Johnny Damon did that for the Royals back in 2000. Led off 10 straight games with a hit.
That's not easy to do.
No. Barely know that Lindor was a switch hitter. The Mets have faced so little left-hand pitching this year. They faced Framber Valdez opening day and no lefty starters since. They just got a piece of that slider to stay in the at-bat.
Well, the one guy with the most at-bats off left-handers in this lineup is Nimmo with 12. Lindor's only got 3 at-bats off left-handers.
That's almost all relief pitchers. And the Mets have hit lefties well when they faced them, but 10 straight right-handed starters and now 11 today. 2-2, and that's low and in with another slider. You can see why they love Meyer's slider. It's got sharp late break, First 2 starts of the year, he's thrown his slider 49% of the time, so he's really leaned into it.
Yeah, he's got the athletic body, too.
He's not a tall guy, just 6 feet tall. 3-2 coming. And Lindor hits one on the ground, and the streak will come to an end. Sanoja throws out Lindor for the first out.
And your Marlin defense presented by Queensboro Community College. Javier Sanoja's second straight start. He's had 6 starts this year in 4 different positions. This is his first start at second base this year, and out in the outfield you've got Griffin Conine, Myers in center, and Stowers in right with the strong arm.
It's a day for the balaclava pulled up over your face. Juan Soto has reached base safely in all 11 games this year, and dating back to last year, he's reached in 23 straight regular season games. Still hasn't hit his stride offensively, but he had 2 more hits last night.
He's getting his hits.
I mean, there's going to come a time when he's going to put together a flurry of extra base hits. That hasn't happened yet. He's had only 4 doubles and a home run, but just his presence in the lineup,
no question,
is such a big piece for this team. He pops this one up on the infield. Edwards shading his eyes as he waits for it to come down, battling the sun, and he wins the battle. 2 out. I mean, just the fact that with Alonso as hot as he is, that the Marlins chose to walk Soto intentionally with runners at first and third last night, just tells you what a presence he is.
I never like intentionally passing, only when you got an open base. You can't. I don't like putting someone, advancing someone with a free pass into a scoring position. It opens it up for a big inning, and of course Pete delivered with the bases loaded double into left center field.
Pete had 4 RBIs last night. He's got 15 now for the year, second in the National League, and he takes a curveball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
You know, we've talked about Pete being focused and being selective at the plate and not chasing. I'm more impressed with him not chasing the sinker inside than not chasing Gary the slider outside.
Paulie throws out Alonso, a 1. Second inning, Nick Fortes leads off and takes curveball for a strike from Tyler McGill. Fortes doing the catching today. He's got a home run in 5 career at bats against McGill. It is stunning when you consider how young this Marlins team is, to the point where there are only 2 batters in the lineup today, Mervis and Fortes, who have ever faced Tyler McGill before.
Correct. And Otto Lopez on the bench has only had 2 at bats off McGill.
This is McGill's 5th career start against Miami, his 6th appearance.
Good sinker, Gare. This is really become an effective pitch for Tyler, and I like Tyler's curveball. He's not overthrowing it, and it's got good bite, and he's able to command it.
That's the curveball he consulted with his brother about in the offseason, and he comes up and in with the fastball to get Fortes one away. Well, last night we were kind of taken aback by the strategy of the Marlins manager Clayton McCullough when the Mets had the bases loaded and 1 out in a 1-run game, and he played his infield in rather than playing back for the double play against Pete Alonso. And I talked to some Met people today, and they said, well, there's a tendency in baseball now to play the infield in more situations, but frankly they were just as dumbfounded as we were about the Marlins playing the infield in that particular situation. Steve, you got some more on this?
Yeah, so Marlins manager Clayton McCullough was asked about it before the game today by the media relatively extensively, and here's the explanation that he gave. Whether or not you agree with it, I'm not sure that I do, but essentially he said that we are going to play ultra aggressive, and that the data shows that the ground balls are hit generally in the same vicinity, and so it's the best of both worlds, is the quote, that if it gets hit to the middle infield, they can go home with the ball, or they can look to turn a double play. But first and foremost, the goal is to get that out at home. Now, he was pushed a little bit and said, well, you got a hitter like Pete Alonso specifically, who's not very fast, hits the ball hard. Why wouldn't you play that middle infield back? And he said, yeah, that does make sense, but it's not a guarantee that we would turn 2. So it sounds like it's a philosophy thing, not just with Clayton McCullough, but with this Marlins organization right now.
And just to, to expand on that, I asked the Mets people whether their analytics gave any plausible explanation for that, and the answer I got was no. And so, I guess everybody's got their own proprietary way of looking at things through their analytical scope. And the Marlins are doing things in a lot of ways a little bit different this year. 0-2 to Javier Sanoja.
There's been a lot of innovations and changes in the game, philosophy, strategy, tactics in game. Some I agree with, some I don't.
Sanoja had 2 hits last night, played shortstop, playing second base today. 0-2 from McGill, and the breaking ball just got a piece of it on that curveball, and it's still 0-2 to Sanoja.
Boy, Sanoja did not want to stay in on that curve. He was very fortunate to get just a piece of that ball, stay in the at bat.
Sanoja had a hard hit to left field against Holmes last night, and then he dunked a single into center field against Huáscar Brazoban. McGill looking for an easier inning after a 28 pitch first. 2 out and nobody on, and a 2-strike count to Sanoja. And he goes away with the fastball, 1-2.
Well, we talked about this Mets pitching staff. They're number 1 in ERA. They've given up the least amount of home runs at 5. Oh, that was a strikeout pitch.
Good. Get the call on the sinker from Adrian Johnson. It's 2-2.
Well, that's been a good pitch now for Tyler. That is going to get a lot of ground balls for him against right-hand hitters, Garrett.
Well, that's the pitch he came back from the minor leagues with last year, and it seemed to turn everything around for him. Dating back to his arrival back from the minors last year, his ERA is under 2. And in fact, the Mets have won the last 8 games that McGill has started. Last 6 of last year and the first 2 of this year. 3-2 to Sanoja, and he walked him. So after getting ahead on Sanoja, I couldn't put away the number 9 hitter. And the inning continues. The 3rd walk given up by McGill. Let's take a look at who's getting it done in today's game, presented by the Home Depot, and the Mets easily with the best ERA in the major leagues so far this year.
Who would have thought that?
Went up a little bit last night. It was under 2 before last night's game. Marlins scored 5. Mets bullpen has been particularly solid. 1.27 ERA as a group, and they had not given up a home run until last night when Derek Hill went deep against Huáscar Brazoban. Here's Xavier Edwards, who walked his first time up. Sanoja speed at first base. And McGill fires a fastball for a strike, 0-1. Cardinals and Pirates playing an early afternoon game today. They're already in the 5th inning with no score. Cardinals beat Paul Skeens last night. They beat him up. Gave up 5 runs for the first time in his career. Skeens only has 4 losses in his big league career, and 3 of the 4 have come against St. Louis. Horses for courses.
Yep.
One and 1 to the switch hitting Edwards, and the curveball lined the other way for a base hit. So that time McGill got the curveball up, and Edwards able to drive it into left. That's the 2nd Miami hit.
Nice hitting. He's out of the Tony Gwynn mold, and Luis Arise, that kind of hitter. He's got a nice swing, sprays the ball around, not power hitter. It's a guy you want leading off.
So this was one of those innings that looked like it was going to go easily for McGill. He got the 7 and 8 hitters out. Then he was ahead 0-2 on the number 9 hitter. Gives up a walk. Now hangs a curveball to Edwards. See how he responds now, facing Kyle Stowers. And he blows a fastball by him, 0-1.
And Stowers again, that big uppercut, and the Mets have just been pounding him at the letters. And he's just having difficulty.
Stowers drew a walk his first time up. In his first 2 starts combined, McGill only had 1 at bat against him with a runner in scoring position. Now he's already faced run scoring situations in each of the first 2 innings. And a check swing foul. Got a break there on the sinker, and it's 1-2.
Well, he couldn't find the plate in that first inning, if you recall, Gare. It wasn't too long ago, I'm sure you remember.
all the way back to like 10 minutes ago.
Yes, he missed away badly against left-handers, and now he's been pounding them inside with that 4-seamer straight gas.
1-2. And he spins that slider low. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The one thing about Tyler, he throws hard. He comes out every day. He's got a good live fastball.
Jonah Bride would be next. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Stowers. And he comes inside, full count. So McGill expending a lot of energy in these first 2 innings. He's already up to 50 pitches. And now the runners will be in motion. Edwards and Sanoha with 3 and 2 and 2 down. Marlins scored first yesterday. Got 2 in the first inning against Clay Holmes. Trying to get on the board first here in the second inning. 3-2 coming. And Stowers goes down swinging to retire the side. 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for McGill, who puts up another 0. Nimmo leads off the home second in a scoreless game, and he tops the first pitch foul, 0-1. Nimmo just 1 for 8 in this series, but that one was a big hit last night.
Against the wind, that double.
Double over the left fielder's head that drove in 2 in the Mets' 4-run 5th inning. Marte and Vientos to follow, and Nimmo fouls away a fastball from Max Meyer. Meyer's just a little guy, 6 feet tall. They always worried about his durability coming out of the University of Minnesota. And then he did break down after 2 major league starts in 2022. Pulled on the ground to the right side. Sanoha with a sliding stop gets up and throws out Nimmo. Well, you can play Sanoha just about everywhere, and he makes a fine play in his first game of the year at second base.
Yes, he did, in the outfield grass. Nice athleticism. Pops up like a jack in the box.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now starting Marte. Marte was on base 4 times last night, and he takes outside as he bluffs a bunt, ball 1. Hawley was playing way back at third base. Comes in a couple of steps after that bluff. And Marte pops one up on the infield. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Paulie's call up the hill to make the catch. 2 out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Mark Vientos suit up this season at MLBshop.com. Check out the largest selection of authentic jerseys, caps, hoodies, t-shirts, and more. Visit MLBshop.com, the official source for your Mets gear. 5 up and 5 down with ease for Max Meyer. And now Mark Vientos, 1 for 6 in this series. And Tyler McGill has spent an eternity on the mound in the first 2 innings, and Meyer has barely broken a sweat.
Well, they had 13 pitches in the first inning. Very efficient.
Meanwhile, McGill's thrown 51 pitches in the first 2 innings. Meyer right now is at 20. And he misses inside of Vientos, and he falls behind 3-0. Meyer had his Tommy John surgery in August of 2022 after 2 big league starts. Missed the rest of that season and all of 23. And that's inside ball 4, so the Mets have their first base runner. He came back early last year, made a couple of big league starts, then they sent him to the minors for most of the season and brought him back later. He was the 3rd overall pick. Spencer Torkelson is having a rebounding season with the Tigers so far. Keston Hurt Heston Kjerstad still just getting started with the Orioles. And Meyer was the 3rd pick in that draft in 20. Here's Brett Beatty. It's really been a rough go for Beatty. Had a base hit and infield single his last time up last night, but just 3 for 24 to start the year with no walks. He's been behind in the count virtually every at bat. And again, 0-1 to start this at bat. In spring training, he was hitting a lot of first pitches.
He's taking a lot of first strikes so far.
And he finds himself down in the count 0-2. Jeff McNeil headed back to Florida after taking some BP on the field yesterday. He's going to continue his rehab there and perhaps be in a rehab game as early as this weekend as he works his way back from an oblique injury. Beatty and Luis Angel Acuna holding down the fort at second base in the meantime, and neither one of them has been producing offensively.
He's got that front foot.
And he goes down swinging on the back foot slider. The throw to first by Fortes to complete the putout, and that ends the inning. Meyer's got his first strikeout, no score after 2. Lady Liberty standing tall in the harbor, welcoming all who come by. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to be free.
There's another take by Bride. That's his 3rd.
Jonah Bride struck out his first time up. Tyler McGill back to work after 2 strenuous innings, and he throws a high curveball, gets a swinging strike. 0-2. Bride, then Matt Mervis and Dane Myers for the Marlins in the 3rd. They've left 5 runners on base in the first 2 innings. And he spins that one low and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. McGill has walked 3 and struck out 5. There have been only 3 fair balls hit by the first 11 batters against him. And the fastball in there for a call, strike 3. So Bride this time is caught looking, and McGill's got his 6th strikeout. Let's check out the road ahead. Your radio home for the Mets is 880 AM and streaming on the free Odyssey app. Mets travel to Sacramento after the game today, take tomorrow off, and then they play at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento, California against the A's tomorrow on Friday. Then they go to Minnesota, come home to play St. Louis. The A's finally got their first home win last night. They beat the Padres 10-4. J.J. Bleday and Gio Urshela each drove in 3 runs for the West Sacramento team. Mervis takes a big hack at a fastball, and it's 1-1. The A's are 5-7 so far this year. They're going to be a much better team than they've been the last couple of years. This one's popped up on the left side. Sanger trying to get there, so is Vientos, and Vientos hits a reach back to make the catch.
That's a tough.
The wind is not as much of a factor as it was last night, but it's still blowing from left across toward right. And that one fooled Vientos as it came a little bit back further toward the field of play.
Well, he had to run a long way and bust from the get-go. He was hauling, and I think he just overran it. And look at how far he had to go for this ball, and he's sprinting. And he did call it off immediately, and Senger backs off.
You'd much rather have your infielder than your catcher catch that ball if it's possible. So McGill again has retired the first 2 as he did in the last inning. Now faces Dane Myers, who reached on an infield hit, and he takes first pitch slider for a strike. 0-1. And a curveball bounced foul. You know, so far Sutter Health Park has played very small. But a lot of runs scored in that park. The A's team ERA is over 5.3, but they've been scoring runs. The funny thing is, I was talking to Paul Blackburn, who has pitched in that park. He said when he was in the Pacific Coast League, Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento was the best pitcher's park in the league because they've got all those high altitude places like Albuquerque and Las Vegas. But so far, with the big leaguers playing there, lots of runs have been scored. First game there, the Cubs scored 18 runs. Swing and a foul ball at the plate. Still 1-2 to Myers.
Well, the old Pacific Coast had Portland, had Tacoma, San Jose for a while, I believe. Albuquerque, as you mentioned. Back in the old days.
The old days. 1-2 coming to Myers. And he just got a piece of that one. So once again, he just stays alive. So in the first 2 innings of this game, Max Meyer, the Marlins starter, spent 8 minutes on the mound, and Tyler McGill spent 16 minutes on the mound. In a very different way of putting up zeros early in this game. 1-2 coming. Curveball lined into center field for another hit. So Myers is 2 for 2, and once again McGill unable to get that 1-2-3 inning.
Got the curveball, went right up the middle.
So McGill's got to deal with some more traffic as he faces Griffin Conine, who struck out his first time up. Myers goes diving back in. Myers has 1 steal so far this year. Mets have been great at throwing out base runners. Mets have gunned down 5 out of 8 so far this year, which is extraordinary. Most caught stealings of any team in the majors. And of course, the irony is that last year, early in the season, they couldn't throw at anybody.
And then they got Terrens, and Terrens is the reason why it's 5 of 8. He can
and
throw.
Singer too.
Yep, he can throw. Terrens.
Mets were 0 for 28 last year to start the season, throwing out runners. 5 for 8 so far this year. What a difference! It was a good changeup there by McGill. A ball and a strike. That's the first changeup he's thrown. 66 pitches, though. That's a whopping total, not having yet finished the 3rd inning. That's going to have to be in their bullpen fairly early again today.
I think Kranick, who hasn't pitched in 2 days and only had 14 pitches 3 days ago, he will be the long man today.
You know, we've talked a lot about the Mets' multi-inning relievers. Not only have they pitched multiple innings, but they've pitched multiple innings with relatively low pitch counts. Up and in fastball to get a swinging strike, and it's 2-2 to Conine. And that's enabled them to pitch more often than they would have otherwise. I mean, Kranick had an outing in Miami where he went 3 innings and threw 22 pitches. That's almost impossible.
He's a strike thrower. I like him.
2-2. Foul back. Conine hangs in there. Oh, somebody's got no hitter going for the Cardinals through 6.
The Cardinals haven't pitched very well.
Eric Fetty, 6 hitless innings on 87 pitches. He's walked 4. No score in that game with the Pirates. 70th pitch for McGill. First to check in on Myers, so that's 2 throwovers now. See if Myers tries to take advantage and runs. I've been shocked at the fact that runners don't take larger leads after 2 throwovers. And the curveball struck him out. So McGill fans Conine for the 2nd time. He's got 7 Ks through 3. No score. 45-degree day. I would think that the seat in the sun becomes that much more valuable as opposed to the seat in the shade. But what if you're right on the edge between sun and shade and you're with somebody that you love? Do you say, honey, you take the seat in the sun, I'll sit in the shade? I don't know. I think you have to reveal your better angels in a situation like that.
You got to be a gentleman and offer the sun to the.
I mean, there's a lot of shivering going on in the shade right now.
These are the big fans here, the diehards.
A lot more smiles in the sun. Taylor hits one out to right center, and coming over is Stowers to make the grab. And that's the first out in the bottom of the 3rd. It is a beautiful sunny day. It would be a perfect day for January. Not so great for the second week in April.
It's a good day for the fireplace.
One out and nobody on. Here's Hayden Singer.
One thing, the air is really crystal clear and pure with all that wind blowing everything out. It's just beautiful.
You feeling good? Feeling right?
I felt better, but I don't feel bad.
Well, you have a week off after today.
No,
Or
I don't.
A few days off.
4 days.
4 days. That's more than half a week.
I'm flying Sunday to Minneapolis.
I mean, if you were rounding up, you would say it's a week as opposed to no weeks, right?
It's
four,
a half
4 days out of 7.
I have a half a week off.
We'll see you in Minneapolis, and hopefully it'll be warmer in Minneapolis than it is here. Although that's a hard thing to bet on. Taken low by Singer, 1 and 2.
In Minneapolis, if I'm correct, you can actually walk from the hotel. They have
Skywalk.
Skywalk.
Yeah.
You can stay indoors the whole way to the ballpark.
Yes, you can if you're so inclined.
I will take the bus.
Singer making his 5th straight start with Luis Torrens banged up. And he tries to hold the swing, but he went around strike 3. So Singer down on strikes. And Max Meyer has been terrific first time through the batting order.
Meyer knows what he's doing. He's not overpowering. You get ahead in the count, you don't have to throw a strike. You can see Singer's on top of the plate. It's close.
Much of a swing. So 2 out and nobody on now. Francisco Lindor, who had his streak of leading off games with a hit, stopped at 5 when he grounded out in the first inning. Fouls away a first pitch changeup, 0-1.
Oh, put a hat on that young gal.
And some sunscreen. Sky to center field. Dane Myers having trouble with the sun and battles it to a draw to retire the side. Let's go 1-2-3 against Max Myers. Max Meyer in the 3rd. Still no score.
Had the Grimace Mets last year, and then they gave way to Rick Pitino's St. John's Red Storm. And Rick, I appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us today. Like I said, you guys took over this city this winter. When you're in it, when you're in the midst of that type of competition, are you able to embrace and understand what's going on, or is that something that you look back on and realize?
Well, I think when you're selling out Madison Square Garden and you see everybody so pumped up on every possession, you realize it's pretty special.
Was there a moment where you said to yourself, you know what, this team might be something special?
I always felt we had our limitations offensively. Going into the NCAA, we had 2 players, Kadari Richmond and Aaron Scott, with torn ligaments in their thumbs. And that hurt us a little bit. I thought we were so good defensively we could stay in the game with just about anyone.
Now, you've had an illustrious Hall of Fame coaching career, many incredible seasons. How did this one compare to some of the best you've ever had?
Well, anytime you win the Big East and win the Big East tournament for the first time in 25 and 40 years, it's special. But I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. Not that we could duplicate that record, but I think we can be a much better basketball team next year. And that's what we want to do. We want to sustain the success, improve in every area.
Pop fly, 2 away. A lot has changed since you started coaching with the NIL and everything that's going on in college basketball. Is it more difficult now than it once was?
Well, for St. John's, it's really not. St. John's, the NIL has helped St. John's. If you're talking about going to Stanford and seeing the beautiful campus, and although St. John's campus is very nice, it's still somewhat of a commuter school, so we can't sell certain football. We got to sell good academics, a strong bond between the university and the students, Madison Square Garden, the Big East. We sell different things, but the NIL really helps us because we don't have football.
Are you still enjoying it like you once were?
I'm enjoying it more now than I ever have in my lifetime because it's New York. It's where I started. I'm back home. And I understand, look, I'm going to be 73 years of age. even though, I act like I'm 35. But I realize I have 3-5 more years, bang on some wood. And so why not enjoy it? Why not have a blast? And why not try to be the best you can possibly be? So I have more passion, more hunger, more drive than ever before.
That was fantastic. Rick, congratulations on an amazing, amazing season. Took the city by storm, and looking forward to seeing you do it again next year.
Well, the Mets right now are the hottest team in baseball. I hope they rub off on us.
All right, there you go. Rick Pitino, guys.
And now Rick's going to be able to coach against his son twice a year. Richard took over as the head coach at Xavier. But maybe the most impressive thing St. John's did all year was not winning the Big East title. It was Zuby Ejiofor today. Zuby claimed never to have played baseball before, and he threw out the first pitch and he threw a strike. That might have been the most impressive thing at all. I mean, Zuby had a fantastic year, big smile on his face, and he threw a strike to John Franco, proud St. John's alum. Made John look diminutive amongst those trees. Hit sharply toward the hole, and Sanoja's got a base hit. So Tyler McGill, 3 innings in a row, has retired the first 2 hitters in an inning, and each time unable to get that 1-2-3. And so now at 80 pitches with 2 out in the 4th, he'll face the 3rd time around the batting order.
Sanoja on the fastball. Marlins have had a trouble with the fastball, and particularly one above the belt. Not Sanoja right there. I've always been a big fan of Rick Pitino, so it's nice to see him at the ballpark.
I mean, he's had success everywhere he's gone.
I love his enthusiasm.
Line to 3rd, caught by Vientos, and Edwards retired to end the inning. So McGill puts up another 0 in the 4th. Still no score at Citi Field. Soto will lead off for the Mets in the home 4th inning in a scoreless game against Max Meyer, who has held the Mets without a hit over the first 3 innings. Mets have had just 1 base runner, a walk to Mark Vientos in the 2nd. Soto popped up to short his first time up. Plenty of construction going on around the ballpark. There's a huge apartment complex that has gone up across the street that was not even a hint of last September or October, and now it looks like it's about done. It's some fast work. Soto, then Alonso and Nimmo for the Mets against Meyer in the 4th. And Soto tops one up the first base line, and Meyer on it easily. And that's the first out. So Soto's over 2. Well, Max Meyer certainly is befuddling the Mets early in this game. Meyer was not only a great pitching prospect coming out of the University of Minnesota, he was a hockey player up until his senior year in high school. Said he gets a lot of his competitiveness from playing hockey, but he's also from a real good athletic family. As Alonso grounded out to 3rd base his first time, and he takes a sinker for ball 1. Meyer's dad was the football captain at St. Olaf College, and his mom was the captain of the soccer team at the same school. So they got all the sports covered. It's taken high, and his uncle is Joel Johnson, who coached the U.S. women's hockey team at the Beijing Olympics in 2022. So they've got a lot of sports pedigree in that family. And a slider on the outside corner for a strike, 2-1. They always say of pitchers from cold weather climates that they tend to age better because they don't have as many innings under their belts as kids. And it pops out of the mid of Fortes, and it's inside to Alonso, 3-1. We'll see if that holds for Meyer, who came up with great promise but was shut down extremely early in his career. Just 2 big league starts under his belt before he had Tommy John. And he goes to the sinker and gets a swinging strike on Alonso.
Yep, Meyer knows what he's doing. He knows how to pitch. He's got good 4-seam fastball. Got that sinker he just showed you. He's got a good breaking ball, good enough breaking ball. Knows when he's ahead in the count. Doesn't have to throw a strike. He knows what he's doing out there.
3-2 to Alonso. And Pete gets a breaking ball and flies it along the left field line. Going back is Paulie, but it's off the netting as Paulie makes the tarp dive. Well, yesterday they walked Soto to get to Alonso.
I believe that was the first pitch in the at bat, Gary, if I remember. If it was a fastball.
It was an 0-1 pitch. But
okay, second pitch.
But point well taken.
You got to be
aggressive.
You got to be aggressive in RBI situations.
1 out and nobody on. 3-2 to Pete, and he takes it low, ball 4, and the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Second walk given up on Meyer.
That didn't miss by much. So he just kind of fed Pete's the sinker ball. Didn't make any mistake over the middle or up. And like we said in the open, this is what this lineup does, the top of the order. You've really got to be focused on the first 4 batters particularly.
Nimmo takes a changeup for a strike. Brandon has the closest thing to a hit for the Mets today. And a ground ball in the hole on the right side, and Sanoja made a beautiful sliding stop and threw him out. Too high to Nimmo, a ball and a strike. Starling Marte is the on-deck batter. Well, they took Eric Fetty out with a no-hitter going. After 6 innings, Phil Maton, the former Met, came in to pitch the 7th for the Cardinals, and he gave up a hit, so no-hitter gone. Still no score in that game. Cardinals and Pirates going to the 8th. 1-1. Another changeup outside. Now it's 2-1. Marte on deck. That's trying to crack through against Max Meyer, making his 3rd start of the year. You know, when a pitcher comes back from Tommy John, especially a highly touted one the way Meyer did, you kind of give them a mulligan that first year back. But he has certainly gotten off to a terrific start this year after struggling through his 11 big league starts last year. His strikeout rate is way up. Last year he was at 7.3 strikeouts per 9. This year, coming into the game, 11.6.
We've seen Nimmo with 2 strikes hit the ball down that left field line.
Flies one out to center, and Myers gives way to Conine, who didn't have the sun in his eyes, and there are 2 out. It's a smart play. Normally center fielder's supposed to get everything, but that ball in left center field for the center field is right in the sun.
Well, you can look at the shadows of the players, folks, and you can see that it's kind of the shadows are going towards right center field. So with the left fielder cutting across, the sun is not a factor.
So here's Marte with 2 out and Alonso at first, and Marte takes a slider for a strike. Well, the sun sets here behind the third base stands.
Correct.
And so you can see the sun reflecting off the sunglasses of Dane Myers.
That glove comes in handy in a sun day where you can use it as a sunblock.
Like with an SPF, that kind of sunblock?
15.
Not for Gelbs. 150 for Gelb.
Gelbs needs, you know.
0-2 coming to Marte. And checking on Alonso.
Steve may need that stuff that Red Shandy's used to do, because Red was redhead and very fair. He used the white stuff that was like white paint,
like the zinc oxide.
The zinc, yes. That's what Steve needs.
Stuff the lifeguards use on their nose, or they did. Check swing foul, and Marte hangs in there. Or as the B-52 said, put on your nose guard, put on your lifeguard. 0-2 to Marte. Alonso is short lead at first, and Marte takes strike 3 call. Fastball got him looking, and Meyer has his 3rd strikeout. He's got 4 hitless innings under his belt. But 5 of his 7 strikeouts have come on fastballs today. Gill with a high pitch count, 81-4, as he faces Kyle Stowers. Stowers has walked and struck out today, 0 for 1. Then Bride and Mervis, 2, 3, and 4 in the Miami batting order. Marlins are going home after this. They'll be home this weekend against the Nationals, while the Mets are heading to Sacramento. Meanwhile, on the other side of Florida, the Tampa Bay Rays last night started a 13-game homestand, the longest homestand in the majors in 14 years. It did not begin well. They lost to the Angels 4-3, but it was how they lost. That's lined to left center field, and Stowers has a base hit. Nimmo comes over to cut it off, and Stowers aboard, leading off in the 5th inning.
Yeah, they've been getting Stowers out, as I mentioned, upstairs. This is not upstairs. This is down where he likes it.
So a leadoff base runner for the Marlins, and Jonah Bride coming up. So the Tampa Bay Rays had lost 4 in a row. They came home for this long homestand. Their first game at home, they did something that has not been done since the dead ball era. Okay? They had a runner at third with nobody out in the 7th, and they didn't score. They had a runner at third with nobody out in the 8th, and they didn't score. They had a runner at third with nobody out in the 9th, and they didn't score.
Oh boy.
That had never been done by any team since at least 1920, since the dead ball era, to have a runner at third with nobody out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th and not score in any of those innings. And the Angels then got a run in the 9th and won the game 4-3. That's not the way to start a homestand.
No.
So Max Kranick up in the bullpen, that's bounced slowly foul by Bride, a ball and 2 strikes. I mean, you could give the Angels credit, say they had some great relief pitching to work out of big jams, but still. Bride has been up twice, struck out both times. Fouls off the breaking ball, still 1-2. Matt Mervis, the on-deck batter. McGill in his first 2 starts has rolled 1 ground ball double play. Mets have turned 10 double plays. They're up among the league leaders through the first 11 games. Stowers at first and nobody out. And there's one on the right side. Chance for 2. Beatty with a bad throw. Threw it past Lindor, and everybody's safe. Beatty trying the spinning throw to second base and just airmailed it past Lindor to put 2 men on.
Well, we've worried about, Beatty out of position basically at second base with McNeil down. He was the right play to get the lead runner, but didn't execute the throw.
That's the Mets' first error in this series and just their 5th of the season. So McGill now up to 89 pitches with nobody out in the 5th. Has to deal with Matt Mervis, the power-hitting left-hand batter. Mervis is 0 for 2 in this game. And a curveball hit up the middle. That's a base hit. Stowers to third. He's being waved home. The throw to the plate by Taylor is cut off, and the Marlins have scored first. Matt Mervis with an RBI single to break the ice, and it's 1-0 Miami. So the Marlins take immediate advantage of Beatty's error to plate the game's first run.
Breaking ball, first pitch. Not a strong throw home by any stretch of the imagination here. So two low ball hitters, and well, that ball, no, that's belt high, so that's good hitting by Mervis. That was just a hanging slider right there.
So Tyler McGill out of the game after 4 innings plus. Max Kranick will relieve him. Called to the bullpen day live. Check it out tomorrow at noon on SNY's YouTube page. Couple of men aboard, nobody out. Don't panic. Bring in Kranick.
He's been outstanding. The numbers don't lie. Strike thrower, no walks. Those are his Nissan numbers.
Dane Myers is already 2 for 2 in this game. First and second, nobody out, and he takes first pitch slider for a strike, 0-1. Tyler McGill, 90 pitches in 4 innings plus, 6 hits, the 1 run so far, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. Threw so many pitches early and it caught up to him here in the 5th. Couple of walks, couple of hits bracketing an error. It was a good fastball away by Kranick, and it's 0-2. Kranick has just been spectacular, and the entire Mets bullpen has. Best bullpen in the majors so far. Quickly ahead 0-2 on Myers. And he struck him out, went to the fastball away and got him to chase. So Kranick comes in, throws 3 pitches and strikes out Dane Myers for the first out.
All away. Paint. He's impressive.
So 1 out and nobody, 1 out and 2 on, and here's Griffin Conine, who's been up twice, struck out both times against McGill. Ride the runner at second, Mervis at first, and the fastball rides inside to Conine, ball 1. And Kranick misses low, falls behind 2-0. Max Kranick from Scranton, PA, born a Mets fan. Again to pitch for his childhood team. Fly ball out to left field. Nimmo started in, now comes toward the line and makes the catch to retire Conine, 2 out. Max said that of all the things that have happened to him early this season, and there have been so many positives for him going all the way back to the beginning of spring training, he said the most joyous for him was when he was on the team bus after he pitched that great game early in the season against the Marlins, and David Wright texted him. David was his favorite player growing up, and he had no idea how David had gotten his number.
Jay.
Of course, but for Max, it was out of the blue. 5 ball shallow left, coming on Nino Memo. He can't get it, and it lands for a hit. It'll score a run. Nimmo was playing deep against the right-hand hitter Fortes and could not get there in time, and Browd scampers home to make it 2-0 Miami.
Off the end of the bat, it's one of those, well, it really wasn't even a full swing. There's your back runner. That's Mervis. I don't know.
He stopped.
I don't understand.
And then continued on when the ball got by Nimmo. No error, though, charged on the play. And now Graham Pauley takes a big swing, 0-1. So the error by Beatty opening the door for a big inning for the Marlins. They've scored 2 unearned runs. Pauley's been up twice, popped up both times. Takes the slider at his feet. A ball and a strike. It was not an easy play for Beatty. He had to go to his left, then spin around and throw to second. He had the runner easily with a good throw, but he just airmailed it. And that opened the door for Miami. 1-2 now on Pauley.
Well, there's your contact, and that's what the new bats. They're gonna where that contact was. That's where the torpedo bat. That's where they shrink the barrel because it's never very successful in adding it towards the label.
Pauley went around on the half swing on a pitch up and in, and so Kranick gets through the inning with a couple of strikeouts, but 2 unearned runs give the Marlins the lead. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning, and we have an issue before the inning can begin. Max Meyer had gone to the mound. Mark Vientos was stepping into the batter's box. Nick Fortes is trying to explain to Vientos what happened. Adrian Johnson saying it's my bad, and whatever it is, they're waving off. Okay, so no play. Nothing happened. So Vientos leads off against Max Meyer, who's been installed with a 2-0 lead. He's yet to give up a base hit. And Vientos takes a slider for ball 1, and we check in with Steve.
So, guys, we all know how infinitesimal the odds are of actually making the major leagues. and they're almost as long that you'll grow up around someone who makes the major leagues. But how about Mark Vientos as he grounds out to the right side? When he was 10 years old, take a look at this photo. He was on a baseball team that had Marlins shortstop Xavier Edwards on the team and Tristan Cassis of the Boston Red Sox. 3 major leaguers on one 9, 10-year-old ball club, a travel team. And I was talking to both Vientos and Edwards about it. I said, I mean, that's insane. Like 3 kids that made the big leagues. And Vientos goes, maybe where you're from. Where I'm from, Southern Florida, there are big leaguers everywhere. He said, I go home, there are like 50 guys in town that have been in the major leagues. Kind of keeps you humble. You think you're a big shot coming home, and nobody really cares. It's expected of you.
Well, it's like when Jesse Winker got to the Mets and asked him, who do you know? Well, I played against Alonso in Little League, and I played with Lindor in travel ball. And I mean, the Florida Peninsula is
same team. He was on the Charcoal Broilers. And
Charcoal Broilers?
And I was on
like Hardee's?
And I was on Pacifica Lumber. Same team. He was on the Charcoal Broilers. And
Charcoal Broilers?
And I was on
like Hardee's?
And I was on Pacifica Lumber.
Full count to Beatty with Tyrone Taylor on deck. Well, the Charcoal Broilers is a pretty good name.
That was the minor leagues, and I was 8 years old. Bob was a year older than me.
Strike 3 called. Beatty's out on strikes again. That's the 4th strikeout for Meyer. Beatty thought that was ball 4. But Meyer continues to roll. By the way, Bob McClure played 19 years in the major
Yes, he
leagues.
did. So there was the Pacifica Angels Bob played for. We went to the major leagues in Little League, and I was on Lindemar Realty. We lived in Lindemar Valley. And then it was Ed and Jim's 76 gas station.
You can't beat the name of my team in Little League. We were Golden Gate Karting. We were named
What?
after a garbage company.
Oh, great.
I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that.
How was your team?
It was kind of garbage.
Oh, boy.
1-1 to Taylor, who flied out to right his first time, and he rifles one foul into the netting. 1-2. Well, Max Meyer writing quite a story here today. 4 2/3 innings. He's not allowed a hit against a Mets team that put up 10 runs and 13 hits last night. The 26-year-old right-hander from Minnesota has been terrific. Working with the lead here in the 5th. And he couldn't get Tillman to bite at the slider. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And that's what I mentioned earlier about Meyer. What's impressive to me, those are intentional pitches, and they're that bait pitch. He knows how to move the ball around.
Well, there's a reason he was the 3rd pick in the draft, even coming out of a cold weather school at Minnesota. Edwards throws out Taylor, and it's 5 hitless innings for Max Meyer. 2-0 6th inning recap. Max Meyer throwing a no-hitter through 5. Tyler McGill lasted just 4 innings plus because he threw so many pitches early on. 2 unearned runs against McGill in his 4 innings of work. Max Kranick came in to get the 3 outs in the 5th, stays on for the 6th to face Javier Sanoja, who takes a slider for a strike. Sanoja's been on base twice with a walk and a single to left. It's the 8th time in their first 12 games that Mets starters have gone 5 innings or less. So while the numbers overall for the starters are pretty good, and the bullpen has done a fantastic job of picking them up, it's obviously something that needs to change, and probably will as we get deeper into the season. But right now, the Mets are not getting much length from their starters, and that's really put the spotlight on these multiple inning relievers like Max Kranick. And the Mets are blessed to have a multitude of guys who can do that with, we'll say, Buteau and Huascar Brazoban. Even Reed Garrett can give you more than an inning at a time.
Reed can give you, 4 or 5 outs. Reed has been the guy that they go to. That should be a Del Monte corn right there, and it is. Reed's been the guy that Mendy has brought in with men on base, not starting an inning. He's been the guy he goes to and likes him to come in when there's men on base, and he's delivered.
Yep, he's stranded every inherited runner he's gotten.
What you think the key is, he throws strikes.
And Kranick has done the same. He's gotten quick outs again in this outing. Threw just 14 pitches in an inning and a third the last time, 16 in an inning and a third so far in this outing. Now Xavier Edwards up for the fourth time, hit the ball hard his last time up, but he lined out to Vientos after walking and singling to left in his first two plate appearances. The Marlins 2 runs and 7 hits. The Mets no runs and no hits. We're in the 6th. And a foul tip on the fastball, and it's 1-1. That St. Louis-Pittsburgh game has gone to the 9th with no score. The Yankees and Tigers are in the bottom of the 6th with no score. So the cold weather throughout the Northeast is not yielding a whole lot of runs, at least not today. Edwards trying to bunt his way on. Vientos comes in, gloves and fires, and he got him. Edwards went tripping over the bag. He appears to be okay. Vientos choosing not to use the bare hand, used the glove, and used that strong arm to throw out Edwards for the second out.
And there'll be no challenge. Really a nice play, and had to get rid of it quick. On the run. Oh, that's close, Gary.
Very close. Fortunately, Edwards is okay after tripping over the bag.
Yep, just got him.
I'm not sure he hit the bag initially when his foot came down, because otherwise, if he'd hit the bag, he wouldn't have tripped like that. Alonso fields the grounder. Flip is a little high, but Kranick pulls it down, and Kranick works a 1-2-3-6 to keep it a 2-0. Home 6th inning. Mets looking for their first hit. Hayden Singer, first pitch swinging, grounds one out to Xavier Edwards. 1 pitch and 1 out for Max Meyer, who's allowed just 2 base runners in this game. A walk to Vientos in the second, a walk to Alonso in the 4th.
So major league pitchers have rediscovered that sinker. To have a nice little 1 pitch, not overpowering, getting more sink. You get it down and into those right-hand hitters, and vice versa, lefty to a lefty. You got to be careful with lefties because they're low ball hitters, but it gets the ground ball. You got 1 pitch and you got 1 out. Pitch to contact.
Third time around the order now for Meyer, and he gets the curveball in for a strike to Lindor. Francisco's grounded out and flied out 0 for 2.
That's another good pitch in his arsenal right there he's had today, Gare. That backdoor breaking ball to left-handers. It's very effective.
And he misses down with a changeup, and it's 1-1. Lindor started the day with a 7-game hitting streak, and 3 hits in the opening game of the series, or 3 hits yesterday after a home run yesterday.
First inning, 3-1 count. Pitcher struggling to throw strikes. 3-1 fastball, and he's all over it. Bomb.
Let's get Ryan Stanek up in the bullpen. Kranick to Stanek.
Stanek had an outstanding outing a couple days ago. 9 pitches, 8 strikes, save. That was
his first save as a Met. And slider misses down, and so Meyer, for a rare time in this game, is behind in the count 3-1.
Fish weren't biting.
Juan Soto waiting on deck. Meyer's never gone beyond 6 1/3 innings in a big league start. This is the longest he's ever had a no-hit bid. And Lindor's got the Mets' first hit. Wraps one right back up the middle on a 3-1 fastball. And the Mets finally get their first safety against Max Meyer.
Get into that hitter's count. Remember last year, this time of year, he was so out in front, chasing bad breaking balls. Not this year.
Gotten off to a much better start. despite a rough first series in Houston. So now Juan Soto bats, tying run at the plate. And he takes that backdoor slider outside for ball 1. Soto's popped up and hit a comebacker, 0 for 2. You know, it harkens back, that Lindor base hit, something I read in Baseball Prospectus last week. They talk about the third time through penalty for pitchers, but at Baseball Prospectus they looked at hitters and how they did third time around against a particular pitcher, and Francisco Lindor was the best in baseball third time around after seeing a pitcher twice. And here he comes through with a base hit after a couple of fruitless at bats, his first 2. And slider misses outside to Soto, so he's tried to backdoor that slider twice against Soto and missed. Great look there. First baseman and the first base coach and the umpire all poised, waiting for that pickoff throw. All in similar athletic position. And he gets that slider over. 2-2 to Soto.
He continues to make big pitches behind the count. He hasn't been behind very much. I mean, that's a big pitch right now. You're protecting a 2-run lead.
Tying run at the plate. 2-2 coming to Soto. And he slaps one on the left side. A chance for 2. Paulie with the flip. The turn by Edwards in time for the double play. 5-6-3 to end the inning. So Meyer gives up his first hit, but then rolls weekend in West Sacramento, California. Griffin Canning goes Friday night against J.P. Sears. David Peterson Saturday, and the Mets face their old friend Luis Severino Sunday afternoon, with Kodai Senga going in that game. For more on the A's, let's check in with Steve.
Well, Gary, you were talking about this a little earlier, but oddly early in the season, Sutter Health Park is playing kind of like Coors Field West. 18 home runs in just 5 games played in that park so far. The wind's been howling. Not expected to continue throughout the season, but early on here we may be seeing a park that plays like a bandbox. The Oakland, I shouldn't say, see, this is going to be a problem. The Oakland A's, the Athletics, no matter where they play, though, are hitting a lot of home runs. They've hit a home run in every game this season. They have 19 home runs. That's 3rd most in Major League Baseball, behind the Dodgers and the Yankees. And Tyler Soderstrom is coming out of nowhere with 6 home runs so far to lead Major League Baseball, tied with Aaron Judge. He only had 12 home runs in just over 100 Major League games played coming into this season. So that's the guy to look for, the hot guy on the A's right now. Additionally, last season, a team that struck out a ton. This year, not too many strikeouts, at least to start the season. They put the ball in play. Yeah,
one of the good signs for the A's is that probably their 2 best hitters, Brett Rooker and Lawrence Butler, are off to slow starts. Those guys are going to hit. Rooker's got 4 home runs, but he's only hitting 185, and Butler just a homer and 3 RBIs so far this year. But the big surprise for the A's so far has been the play of their shortstop, Jacob Wilson, 2nd-generation big leaguer. His dad Jack was a shortstop with the Pirates. Wilson has hit in all 12 games for the A's this year. He's hitting .400 with an OPS of 1,000. He's still a rookie. 2-2, and Stanek misses down with the fastball, and it's 3-2. Jonah Bride leading off in the 7th against Stanek after Max Kranick went 2 innings, allowed no runs, 1 hit, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Stanek worked a scoreless inning in the first game of this series for a save, and he gets Bryant looking as Bryant strikes out for the 3rd time today.
Boy.
Bryant now 2 for 32 to start the year.
Boy, he's just taking so many pitches. I mean, you haven't got a chance if you don't get it off the shoulder.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Matt Mervis, who drove in the first run of this game with a base hit up the middle in the 5th. And he takes fastball low and in for ball 1. Tyler McGill is on the hook in this game despite not allowing an earned run. 2 unearned runs in 4 innings plus against McGill. And so McGill's ERA through 3 starts drops to 0.63. It's pretty good. And Mervis late on that high fastball. It's 1-2.
I like the way Stanek's throwing. This is 2 back-to-back now. Not everything was always 100% effort. Everything into every pitch. He's just much more calm. Not calm. That's not the word. Together. Not trying to overthrow. He's still got a great arm. He's still throwing hard. Throwing strikes.
And he strikes out Mervis as he comes down and in with the fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Stanek to start the 7th. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Northwell. They're rewriting history by giving women the care they deserve. Northwell, raise health. By the New York Lottery, get out there and play. And by Hyundai, with a brand new Hyundai, there's joy in every journey. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Dane Myers, who's 2 for 3 today, and he pops one up foul that'll come back out of play. 0-1. Ball obtained. The high heat for Stanek is really playing. Dane Myers and mirrored Dane Myers. Facing mirror Ryan Stanek. Line center field coming on his Taylor to make the grab, and that retires the side. Stanek gets it. We go to the bottom of the 7th at Citi Field. Mets trying to extend a 6-game winning streak, but they're down 2-0 to Max Meyer and the Marlins. Pete Alonso leads off and takes a slider on the outside corner for a strike. 0-1. Pete's been one of the Mets' 3 base runners in this game. He walked in the 4th inning. Meyer's given up just 1 hit. And Pete pulls one. Fair ball. It goes off the tarp. Karam's out to Conine. Alonso's going to have to stop at first base. That was very, very close to being a foul ball, but the third base umpire Brian Walsh said it was fair. You judge.
Oh boy, that's close. That is close. Did it tip the bag? That's the right call.
It went over the bag in the air before it crossed
fair ball
into foul territory.
Good hitting by Pete on a sinker down and in.
So the Mets have their 2nd hit, and that gets Nimmo to the plate as the tying run. Marlins bullpen gets active. Keep in mind, Max Meyer has never gone beyond 6 1/3 innings in a big league start. Top of the batting order continues to thrive. Lindor, Soto, Alonso carrying the freight. Nimmo's gone just 1 for 10 in this series. And he yanks one foul on a slider. 1 ball, 1 strike. Regardless of how this one finishes for Max Meyer, it is gratifying to see a young, highly touted Marlins pitcher succeeding. They've had so much misfortune and in some cases tragedy with their pitching over the last decade. Of course, the death of Jose Fernandez hit that franchise so hard, but you know, Sixto Sanchez was supposed to be the next great thing, and he hurt his arm and is no longer in professional baseball. Yuri Perez came up 2 years ago. He's on the shelf with Tommy John surgery. Fly ball deep left field. Back goes Conine. He'll have room in front of the warning track, and he makes the catch to retire Nimmo. And that's the first out.
Did you see the Guerrero's contract, Vladimir?
14 years, $500 million.
He took just came over the board here, $325 million signing bonus.
What?
That's what it's. I'm reading right here. Vlad got $325 million signing bonus.
Are you kidding me? They gave him more than half the contract up front.
Will receive just $175 million of his $500 million extension in salary.
Wow. Well, I'd have to figure out how to run in relief for Miami. Bender's yet to allow a hit this year in 4 appearances. Comes in to face Starling Marte with Alonso at first and 1 out. Mets down 2-0 in the 7th. first pitch slider in for a strike, 0-1. Marte has popped up and struck out 0 for 2. Max Meyer matches his longest outing of his career, 6 1/3 innings, allows just 2 hits, walked 2, struck out 4, 82 pitches. Bender throws mostly sliders, and he's thrown 2 in a row to get ahead on Marte, 0-2.
And he's got the funky deliveries. It's almost sidearm, almost a side underhand. Submariner, but he's sidearm, so he's got that sweeping breaking ball.
Alonso at first and 1 out. 0-2 to Marte with Vientos on deck. Time went a little wider with the slider, 1-2. So I got a little more clarification about that Vladimir Guerrero bonus. The $325 million is going to be spread out over the life of the deal.
Okay.
So he's not getting it all up front. That's it slowly to the right side. Mervis will make the toss to the pitcher in time as Alonso moves to second. So the Mets got a runner into scoring position for the first time today.
Expound on that, Garrett.
Well, the reason why he gets it in bonus rather than salary is because the bonus would be taxed in his home state of Florida.
Right, so there's no state tax. Right. So that makes perfect sense. That's good. He's got good people working for him. That structured his contract. You don't want to give it away. Not too much anyway.
Here's Mark Vientos, who's walked and grounded out 0 for 1. And he takes a slider down for ball 1. Vientos 0 for 3 in his career against Bender. That's with their first chance with a runner in scoring position today. They're hitting 165 as a team in RBI situations.
Good pitch. Probably looking for a slider. It's out first fastball. He's throwing. There's the motion there. He's pretty straight up with a big kick around with that back leg. But he's pretty upright pitcher. No drop and drive from Bender. He got all the sliders, got ahead of Marte and came in with the fastball to get him and jammed him. Good pitch. Here he came in for strike 1 inside to get a strike on Vientos. Another one.
He gets ahead on Marco, 1-2.
So Marco's looking for the slider and got 2 fastballs.
Oscar Brazoban up in the Mets bullpen. After Stanek pitched the 7th. 1-2 coming. And the slider off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Vientos just 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position to start the year. And he pops one up into shallow center. On comes Myers to call. And that retires the side. So the Mets get a leadoff hit, but leave Alonso stranded 2-0 after 7. The rest of the day in sports in New York on a sports night. Mets have been shut out through 7. Oscar Brazoban comes in to pitch for the 2nd straight day and gets his first changeup in for a strike to Griffin Conine.
Yes, gave up the home run, the 2-run homer to Derek Hill in that 6th inning. Through 20 pitches. That's really the first blemish he's had this year.
Really the first blemish for that bullpen. The only home run they've allowed this season. Today Max Kranick and Ryan Stanek have given the Mets 3 scoreless innings in relief. That changeup misses down. A ball and 2 strikes to Conine with Nick Fortes and Graham Pauley to follow. And we'll see if the Mets have some more late inning magic in them against the Marlins bullpen. Swing and a miss. Went upstairs with a fastball to get Conine after all the soft stuff. And Conine strikes out for the 3rd time today. That's a dozen for Met pitchers.
Getting Conine upstairs.
So 1 out and nobody on now. Nick Fortes, who hit a bloop single to left to drive in the 2nd Miami run in the 5th inning. And he takes fastball for a strike. Tyler McGill 4 innings plus, gave up 2 unearned runs on 6 hits. Max Kranick 2 innings, no runs, 1 hit, and then Stanek worked to 1, 2, 3, 7. Ball and a strike to Fortes. That St. Louis-Pittsburgh game is now in the 11th inning. Still no score in Pittsburgh. Yankees up 2-0 on the Tigers in the 8th.
So they haven't been able to score.
Lined over short, a base hit for Fortes, so he's got his second hit of the day. A 1-out single. Yankees got shut out by Tarek Skubal yesterday, and they got shut out for the first 6 innings by Jack Flaherty today. But Max Fried pitching a terrific game for the Yankees. And we're trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. Meanwhile, the Tigers have won 5 in a row. Here's Graham Pauley, who's 0 for 3. And he skies one out to left. Nimmo barely has to move. And that's the second out. So 2 away. Fortes still at first. Don't miss a single Mets moment on the SNY stream presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Now on its new home, the MLB app. Scan the code and download the MLB app today. So 2 out now. Javier Sinoja, who has been on base twice in this game, a walk and a single. 1 for 2. Marlins 2 runs, 8 hits. The Mets no runs and 2 hits. We're in the 8th. And a first pitch cutter on the outside corner for a strike. 0-1. That's about the lower third of the order coming up in the 8th inning, and there's a lefty up in the bullpen for Miami, but I would think Bender is going to start the inning. Bender only faced 2 batters in that 7th inning and threw only 9 pitches, and you'd think they want to extend him. Anthony Veneziano is up, getting ready perhaps for Soto.
Again.
And I think he's been brought in to face Soto, what, 3 different times now?
Yep.
Over these 6 games.
He's their sole left-hander.
Brazoban ahead 1-2. And Sinoja just got a piece of it. It stayed on the line. It's a fair ball, and Sanger tags him out. Terrific quick move by Sanger to grab that ball before it could curl foul. It was sitting right on the foul line and correctly called a fair ball. And that's a 2 unassisted putout to end. Brett Beatty leading off for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th inning. Beatty's been up twice, struck out both times, swinging in the 2nd, looking in the 5th. Now facing Anthony Bender, who got the final 2 outs in the 7th. And Beatty swings and misses late on the fastball. 1-1.
Oh boy.
Terrific outing from Max Meyer, the 26-year-old right-hander. 6 1/3 innings, no runs, 2 singles. And Beatty takes a slider that just missed. 2 balls and a strike. Tyrone Taylor on deck, and then Hayden Singer. Edwin Diaz is not thrown in this series, so it looks like he's going to get an inning of work in the 9th regardless of the score. Mets have an off day tomorrow. And Beatty skies one foul on a fastball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Beatty has a hit in his only career at bat against Anthony Bender. But right now things are just not going well for Brett. He looks very defensive at the plate. It's to find that aggressive hitter that dominated spring training. And he strokes one the other way, but right at the third baseman, Pauley, who throws him out, 1 away. Again, another defensive swing there by Beatty. So 1 out now. Tyrone Taylor. Taylor is flied out and grounded out today, 0 for 2. It's a funny game, isn't it? Yesterday the Mets banged out 10 runs and 13 hits, and today they've been held completely in check.
It's always hard to sweep, and I think from a psychological point of view, whether it's a home team trying to avoid it or a visiting team, I think they come a little more with more grit. You don't ever want to get swept. a little more. I'm not going to say they're more determined, but they are determined.
Well, the Mets just finished off the sweep of Toronto, looking for one today, but they've only got 5 outs left to play with. Taylor pops one up, and Edwards backing up gives way to the second baseman, and Sanoja makes the grab. 2 out. So Bender's faced 4 and retired all 4. And now Hayden Senger will bat with 2 out and nobody on. Mets have not been shut out yet this year, but they'll have their big bats up in the 9th inning if nothing happens here with Senger with 2 out and nobody on. And then the question is, who does Miami close with? Coming into the season, it looked like Calvin Fauché was going to get the lion's share of the closing opportunities, but he was used very early in the game yesterday. Bender's had a save this year, the only one for Miami. Fly ball out to right, and Stowers is right there, and so the Mets' woes on this day continue. Bender, Matt Mervis a base hit up the middle after an error set the table, and Nick Fortes off the end of the bat fell in front of Nemo in left. That brought in the second run, and that's been it. Edwin Diaz hasn't pitched since Sunday against Toronto, so he'll soak up an inning here in the 9th.
He got his second save in that appearance, so he's plenty rested. There's his Nissan numbers.
Doesn't like to sit for too long without pitching, and with an off day tomorrow, important to get him some action. Hoping to keep this game at 2-0 and give the top of the batting order a chance in the bottom of the 9th. Xavier Edwards a walk and a single today, 1 for 3. And Diaz's first fastball is too high for ball 1. And it is Calvin Fauché, so that's interesting, right? They used Fauché early in the game yesterday. They brought him in the 5th inning. And today, he's going to be their closer.
He had a rough out. Mets have touched him up twice in Miami and here. He gave up 4 runs, only 1 earned, but he threw 24 pitches yesterday under duress.
And there's a strike from Diaz, who's not throwing hard. That was just 94 miles an hour on his fastball. That was the concern in spring training, that Diaz's fastball might not be up to snuff, but then the season began and all of a sudden he was throwing 98. Slider misses, and it's 3-1 to Edwards. But you know, sometimes adrenaline becomes an issue for closers when they're in these non-save situations. And he gets the slider in for a strike. 3-2 to Edwards with Kyle Stowers on deck, and then Jonah Bride. Diaz, the 5th Met pitcher of the day. And Edwards fouls back the slider. Tyler McGill went 4 innings plus. He's on the hook despite not allowing an earned run. Max Kranick 2 innings. Ryan Stanek 1 inning. Huascar Brazoban 1 inning. 4 more scoreless innings for the Mets bullpen. 3-2 coming to Edwards, and it's too high, ball 4. So Diaz, who hit 2 batters in his last outing, walks his first batter in this one. McGill walked 3 batters in the first 2 innings, and that's the first walk by a Met pitcher since. Now here's Kyle Stowers, who's walked, singled, and scored a run, 1 for 3. And that one goes to the backstop, and that'll get Edwards to second base. Pitch that got substantially away from Diaz.
What brought that on? Did he lose his grip?
Well, they say, pitchers do, that on these cold, dry days that the ball can feel sometimes like a billiard ball, and it's hard to get a grip on. And he comes right back with a fastball for a strike, 1-1. Still not throwing hard. Last one at 94. Stowers asks for time. Jonah Bride, the on-deck batter. The Marlins 2 runs and 8 hits. The Mets no runs and 2 hits. It's essential for Diaz to put up a 0 here. The Mets have the lineup exactly where they want in the 9th, with Lindor, Soto, and Alonso due up, but you don't want to be 3 runs down. And Stowers lifts one to left, chasing Nimmo back a few strides. He's there. And he makes the catch on the warning track. Tagging at second is Edwards, and he takes third. So the ball hit deep enough to left to advance that insurance run to third base.
Well, they know now that the arm of Brandon, he was backpedaling too, so he had no momentum, excuse me, going forward.
So the Mets will have to bring the infield in now. Jonah Bride has been up 4 times in this game. Struck out 3. The other time he reached on an error that led to the 2 runs. And a swing and a miss with a slider, 0-1. So a spot where Diaz certainly could use a strikeout. And Bride laid off that slider, a ball and a strike. Well, an impressive crowd today for a midweek day game in cold weather. Over 29,000 paid today. It's been quite a homestand. And a slider off the plate again. 2 balls and a strike to Bride. Had struggled with attendance for most of last year until the very end. But the fans have been coming out in droves for this first 6-game homestand. Fouled at the plate, and it's 2-2 to Bride. Matt Mervis is the on-deck batter. Mervis drove in the first run in this game. Diaz looking for the strikeout with Edwards at third and 1 out. And it's lined the other way, a base hit for Bride, and that'll bring in a run. So Jonah Bride goes the other way with 2 strikes and drives in Edwards to make it 3-0 Miami.
Well, that's got to feel good for Bride. I mean, he's had a rough series.
First RBI of the season for Bride.
Nice and level on that up fastball away.
I would just save the marriage.
That's right. Don't worry, honey. I'll take the garbage out tonight.
He was 2 for 32 going into that at bat, and he had been 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, but he erases all that with an RBI single.
High fastball, tried to get it away, belt high, and he's just stayed level on that. And that's just good hitting. Swung the bat, had a result.
Mervis takes a back foot slider, and Diaz continuing to struggle behind 2-0. A leadoff walk to Edwards, a very wild pitch, a deep fly ball, and then an RBI single from Bride to bring in an extra run for Miami here in the 9th. And now Diaz behind 2-0 on Mervis, and he misses high with that fastball, and it's 3-0. It's the first run that Diaz has allowed this year, after the guys in front of him in the bullpen threw 4 scoreless innings today. And that catches the inside corner, 3-1. Mervis came into this series off a 2-home-run game in Atlanta on Saturday. Guy with big power acquired from the Cubs in the offseason. Swing and a miss. Good breaking ball there by Diaz. 3-2. Speaking of the Cubs, they put up another 10 runs yesterday in their win over Texas. They're down 3-1 in the 5th today, but Chicago's sitting on top in the NL Central at 9-5. 3-2, runner goes, and it's hit in the air to right field. Soto going back to the warning track right at the fence, and it's out of here. Matt Mervis with his 3rd home run of the year, a 2-run shot, and the Marlins have broken it open in the 9th inning with 3 runs off Edwin Diaz, and Miami leads it 5-0.
Down and in slider.
So Diaz brought in to get an inning of work in a non-save situation. It has not gone well.
Just, oh, it's out over the plate too, right into his zone.
And now the Mets are going to get Danny Young up in the bullpen. They did not want to use Danny today. He's worked 2 days in a row, but They might have to rescue Diaz here. There's a roller out to short, and Lindor's got it and throws out Dane Myers, 2 out.
He's got a little bit of a hockey swing there. He likes that blow ball, and it's very strong. There's his reaction. Hey, you get a big home run off a top-notch closer. That'll get you pumped.
Get 3 home runs for the Cubs over the last 2 seasons, and now he's got 3 already for Miami. And the Mets now down 5-0 in the 9th, and their 6-game winning streak very much in jeopardy as Griffin Conine steps in and takes fastball high for ball 1. Conine's gone 0 for 4 and struck out 3 times. He has allowed 7 home runs last year. There was a stretch in August where he gave up 9th inning home runs to Jackson Merrill in San Diego and then Corbin Carroll in Arizona, and it was after that that Edwin got his season turned back around. In that last game in Arizona where he threw almost all fastballs and just blew them away, and he went on a really good run down the stretch of the season. Wound up getting the win in that clinching game against Atlanta, despite having a very rough bottom of the 8th inning when he failed to cover first base and the Braves scored 3 runs, but then Lindor's home run bailed him out, and Diaz fought his way back into the game to pitch the 9th. Taken down by Conine, 2 balls, 2 strikes. It's fair to say that very few relief pitchers have ever had as good a year as Edwin Diaz had in 2022.
That was as fine a year I've ever seen of a closer, Gare.
And then, of course, blew out his knee in the WBC in celebration, missed all of 23. Came back last year and was really good at times, but certainly not as consistent as he had been in 22. And now he takes his first hurting this year.
Well, he was dominant that year.
At his first rough outing of the year.
It'll be the 3rd day in a row for Danny. Threw 18 pitches 2 days ago. The first game of the series, 14 yesterday.
Has to get 1 out here, facing Nick Fortes, who already has a couple of hits today. He's driven in a run. Marlins were up 2-0 as this inning began. RBI single by Jonah Bride, 2-run homer by Matt Mervis. Now Conine at first with 2 down, and Fortes takes a sinker out of the strike zone for ball 1. Well, Calvin Fauché continues to throw in the bullpen, but he'll no longer have a save opportunity in the bottom of the 9th with a 5-run lead. And the backdoor slider in for a strike, 1-1. That's we'll have the top of the batting order coming up. Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. And Fortes takes a sinker for a strike, and Young gets ahead 1-2. Marlins are trying to get back to 500. They got off to a great start. Fell below 500 with the 2 losses in this series. One-two coming to Fortes, and the slider hit out to center field, and Taylor's right there waiting for it. And that retires the side, and we go to the bottom of the 9th with the Mets.
Forget.
I don't know where you
He was the one that had the keys and the. He was the scariest of all the ghosts.
I mean, Marley's ghost was dragging the chains. Is
right,
that
but there was one with the scary one. The one that was most scary to me when I was a kid. Had keys, like a keychain.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. We get forgetful, you know.
Okay. Blake Bacher comes on to pitch for the 2nd time in the series. He got 5 outs in the first game, facing the top of the batting order. Lindor had the first Met hit that came in the 6th. Only 1 more followed, and that was a Pete Alonso single in the 7th. As Max Meyer held the Mets completely in check for 6 1/3, and then Anthony Bender retired all 5 batters to face him. And the curveball misses outside from Bacher, 1-1. They're having quite the tilt at PNC Park today. The Cardinals finally broke the ice and got a run in the top of the 12th. Tommy Pham a single to driving a run in the bottom of the 12th. They now go to the 13th inning in Pittsburgh. Cardinals and Pirates tied at 1.
On getaway day.
Just hold the flight.
You always want to get off to the next town or get home. These extra inning games on getaway day are rugged.
Slider outside to Lindor, 2-2 with Soto and Alonso to follow. Mets need a bunch of base runners here in the 9th. Lindor had a base hit in the 6th, gave him an 8-game hitting streak. And that's too high, ball 3. Well, if you're Clayton McCullough, the last thing you want to see is Lake Bacher come in and walk people.
Yes. Quite frankly, it's probably a lot of people here feel the same way.
And Lindor drives one toward right center, cutting across Stowers to slide and make the catch. Nicely done by Kyle Stowers for the first out.
I thought he got that one a little more. I thought it was going to travel, but it didn't. He had it all the way.
Sliding like a Stanford quarterback, going for a first down against Cal. I say that because Stowers went to Stanford.
I figured that.
But he wasn't a quarterback. But I know Cal was very big in your family.
Well, fortunately for him, he wasn't in the marching band.
The band?
One year when Elway was.
The band is on the field.
That was Elway quarterbacking for Stanford.
Juan Soto's 0 for 3 today. Reached base safely in each of the first 11 games for the Mets, so that streak is in jeopardy. 23 straight games on base going back to last year. Bacher ahead of him 0-2. And a half swing, he went around strike 3. So Soto is blanked, and the Mets are down to their final out.
Little backdoor breaking ball, down breaking ball.
So 2 out and nobody on. It's left to Alonso, who's been on base twice today with a walk and a single. Pete starts this at bat with an 1143 OPS. He has just had a phenomenal first 2 weeks of the season and hoping to keep that going in some warmer weather in California. It's supposed to be in the 70s all 3 days. The Mets are in Sacramento. Probably not quite that warm in Minneapolis, but it'll be a nice respite over the weekend. And Pete drives one out to center, chasing Myers back to the warning track, and he makes the catch. Oh, wow. Another great catch by a Marlins center fielder. This one ends the game. Wow. Yesterday it was Derek Hill. Today Dane Myers taking an extra base hit away from Alonso with a stunning catch to end the game and hand the Mets their first shutout loss of the season and snap their 6-game winning streak.
And their first loss at home. What a terrific catch. And he face planted into that wall. Oh my gosh, thank God for the padding. What a play. And this ball is smoked. And look how far he had to run, Gare. They've been playing a very shallow outfield. That is just a fabulous catch.
Running straight away from home plate. Magnificent play by Myers. And Lake Bacher very appreciative.
Buy him
this
dinner.
One ends the game.
Buy him dinner. Yeah. You saved my bacon. Thank you.
Lake Bacher in full salute to his center fielder Dane Myers, who made a fabulous game-ending play. Yesterday it was Derek Hill streaking across the outfield to rob Tyrone Taylor of an extra base hit and save 3 runs.
Yeah, look how far he had to run here. And watch him lay out. What a play.
Superman grab.
And in the heel of his glove.
And to have it stick when it hit the ground. He
Yes.
turned the glove just enough so it wouldn't pop out. So 2 magnificent plays by Marlins center fielders. This one gets them a victory as Max Meyer pitched the best game of his young career. 6 1/3 scoreless innings, held the Mets without a hit until the 6th. Tyler McGill didn't give up an earned run, but nonetheless took the loss as the Mets are shut out for the first time this season.